Good morning or afternoon. My name is Charmaine Cunningham. I'm a lecturer at the Division of Emergency Medicine at the University of Cape Town. The specific course I'm going to talk about, the assessment, is a module on a postgraduate diploma in emergency care. And this diploma is a fully online course. And the module that I'm teaching on is a module in leadership. So usually when we teach leadership or attend leadership courses, especially at university, that's a 6 months course. I'm not talking about a 2-day or 3-day course. You do a lot of leadership theory. You do a lot of theoretical leadership. And one of the reasons why we changed the assessment was we wanted to make leadership more applied. We wanted to take a practical approach. The second reason why we reconsidered how we traditionally assess, and in our division, the traditional assessment is some coursework and then end of the semester writing an exam, often a lot of multiple choice questions, and then one or two longer questions, short answer questions or case study. So one of the reasons we also wanted to change that was in the online space, that is quite difficult because now we have proctoring and you have a whole bunch of other considerations. So we were thinking, how can we change this? And we changed the portfolio. So our assessment method ended up being assessment, and I just actually the assessment was basically just to look at the marks. The assessment was that there would be different activities. So there was 12 activities, which would be something such as a locus of control, then a little discussion after that, and then linking that to the theoretical component of work that's happening. And at the end of every 2-week cycle, to write a 500-word blog. So in total, that was 4 blogs over a course that stretched 8 weeks. And they needed to reflect on the result of the activity, so say the locus of control activity, and then they needed to compare that to what they did in theory, which could be something like teamwork, communicating with team members, etc. And then they had to write an end blog that also counted 30% of the mark. So the total mark of the leadership course, or this aspect of the leadership course, was 50%. And what we asked them to look at in the blogs was kind of 3 aspects: existential access, praxis, and then relational aspect. So existential, they had to think about, who am I? What type of person do I want to be? What do I aspire to be? How does this component of work speak to who I am? Do I associate with it? Do I think this is completely not who I am? Then it had to go to relational. So how do I relate to others and the world around me? And looking specifically at my leadership style, how does that fit in with how I relate to people, and how does that fit in with the theoretical component of the work that we've just done? And then finally, a praxis, and that is, how do I take self-action? So a little bit on self-awareness, critical appraisal of my past actions, my future possibilities. So how do I show up? How do I operationalize this? Let's say I would say, I would want to improve my active listening, or my active listening is brilliant. I think it is. I do the scale. I found my active listening is not that great. What does that imply about how I want to show up in the world, how I want to work with others, and how can I be a little bit more self-aware about this? So as I teach in emergency medicine, and the course participants are firefighters, paramedics, nurses, doctors, all in emergency medicine, we were a little bit worried that this portfolio would not be well received, that people would feel they don't have time for reflection, and that people would think this course is a little bit too esoteric for what we typically do in emergency medicine. And I was quite surprised by the feedback from the students. So we also said that all the blogs will be anonymized to give people a safer space. And literally in the first lecture that we spoke about that, one of the students put his hand up and said, I don't mind, you can read how I feel and how I learn. And that was kind of, that set the the tone for the rest of the course. The assessment of this was quite tricky, and I really struggled to find the right balance, because people would write absolutely beautiful blog, and it would be that they'd pour their heart out, but then it wouldn't speak to the theory that is done, or it wouldn't speak to the findings of their course. So that was quite difficult, and in the end, with the external examiner, we set up a very basic rubric, and the rubric was really looking at, did they stick to the word count, English, or the language used, the grammar, the formatting of it, and aspects like that, and whether they've answered existential praxis and relational aspects, and it really kind of kept to that. And we put in a disclaimer saying, we are not marking you on your life experience, we are marking you or assessing you on your ability to answer the question that we've added in. So that was, in short, what we did, and I think it's a great way of assessing a course such as leadership. I think the feedback we received is that it was great, and I found that I had far more connection with the student and had far better idea of where the students are in their leadership journeys and how they're finding the work that I've ever had in doing multiple choice questions or giving case studies, etc. It's like I felt like that the student could really come to the classroom and bring themselves to the classroom, and I was really surprised with the vulnerability that people showed, with the depth of the stories they shared, and with the amount of disclosure. So I really think that that is great, and people would say, so it's my last point, like one of the students actually said, I think I'm more a manager than a leader, and I'm not interested in these components of leadership. I would far rather actually work in a bureaucracy. And for me, a student to make themselves that vulnerable, especially in a course where everyone's saying, I want to be a leader, I want to be a leader, was a huge amount of vulnerability, but also a huge amount of self-awareness of, this is who I am, and this is who I want to be, and this is what I'm comfortable with. So I think that this was a great assessment method, and I would encourage anyone that is teaching on courses that need some sort of reflection or self-awareness, leadership management, etc., to actually work in a reflective component for assessment. Thank you very much.